In the boundless ocean of the cosmos, where stars shimmer like beacons of ancient tales, there lay the majestic space station Astralis, a shimmering jewel orbiting the vibrant planet of Zephyria. It was a fusion of futuristic aspirations and retro charm, its metal hull glistening under the celestial light, an embodiment of mankind's relentless pursuit of the unknown. Upon this floating haven, a team of explorers, scientists, and dreamers bustled about, their minds alight with the fire of discovery. Among them was Captain Eleanor Briggs, a figure of resolute command, her eyes reflecting the stars that had been her companions on many a lonely voyage. Her voice, crisp and authoritative, cut through the hum of activity as she addressed her crew. "Today, we stand on the precipice of the unknown," she announced, her gaze sweeping across the faces of her team. "The wormhole that has appeared near our station is not just a phenomenon, it is a gateway to secrets that have eluded us for eons." Dr. Samuel Hayes, the lead scientist, a man whose face was etched with the lines of many sleepless nights spent in contemplation of the universe's mysteries, stepped forward. "We've studied the stars, charted nebulae, and touched the face of distant planets," he said, his voice tinged with a blend of excitement and apprehension. "But this wormhole is different. It's like nothing we've ever seen." The crew gathered around a holographic display, which flickered to life, showing the swirling vortex of the wormhole, a maelstrom of colors and light, dancing like a celestial serpent. "It's beautiful," whispered Lieutenant Grace Zhang, her eyes wide with wonder. "And terrifying." The station's old intercom crackled, and the voice of the chief engineer, Omar Khatri, resonated through the room. "We've retrofitted the vessel Odyssey for this mission. She's old but sturdy, equipped with the latest in astronavigation and life support systems. She'll get you there and back." As they discussed their mission, the air was ripe with a mix of scientific fervor and an almost palpable tension. They knew the risks. Space was unforgiving, a realm where the slightest miscalculation could mean oblivion. Yet, the allure of the unknown was irresistible. In a quiet corner, away from the others, stood the young astrophysicist, Dr. Emily Zhao, her eyes reflecting a depth of knowledge far beyond her years. She spoke softly, almost to herself. "We are about to step into a chapter of the cosmos that has never been read. What wonders, or horrors, await us, I wonder." As the hour of departure neared, Captain Briggs gathered her team. "This mission is more than exploration. It's a testament to our unyielding quest for understanding, our undying curiosity," she said. "Let us venture forth, not just for ourselves, but for all of humanity." The team saluted, their faces a mixture of resolve and anticipation. They were pioneers, embarking on a journey into the heart of a cosmic enigma, driven by the timeless call of the unknown, a call that resonated through the ages, echoing in the starlit expanse of space. As Odyssey detached from Astralis, heading towards the swirling vortex, the crew took one last look at the station, a beacon of civilization amidst the infinite darkness, before plunging into the abyss of the wormhole, leaving the familiar behind for the allure of the undiscovered. As the Odyssey ventured forth into the velvet tapestry of space, the crew inside beheld a sight that few had ever imagined. The stars, like distant diamonds, twinkled against the infinite black, each a silent sentinel watching over the vastness of the universe. The spacecraft itself, a marvel of human ingenuity, glided gracefully through this cosmic sea, its engines emitting a soft, ethereal glow that illuminated the dark void. Captain Briggs stood at the helm, her hands steady on the controls. "Steady as she goes," she murmured, her voice a calm beacon amidst the awe-inspiring vastness around them. Beside her, Dr. Hayes peered out of the large windows, his eyes reflecting the starlight. Every star could be a sun to another world, a whole new realm of possibilities, he mused, his voice tinged with a philosopher's wonder. In the common area, the crew gathered, their eyes fixed on the holographic map that displayed their trajectory. "We are now entering uncharted territory," announced Lieutenant Zhang, her voice betraying a hint of excitement. "The wormhole is approximately 8 hours ahead at our current speed." The air was thick with anticipation, each crew member aware of the historic nature of their mission. Dr. Zhao, her youthful face illuminated by the glow of her console, broke the silence. "I've been studying the readings from the wormhole," she said. "Its energy signature is unlike anything we've seen before. It's as if we're looking at a door to another dimension." As they drew nearer to the wormhole, the crew prepared for the unknown challenges ahead. Chief Engineer Katri, a man whose hands had repaired and crafted wonders, checked and rechecked every system. "Odyssey is more than ready," he assured them. "She's been through a lot, but she's never let us down." The wormhole, now visible in the distance, loomed like a swirling maelstrom, a vortex of colors and light that beckoned them closer. Its presence was mesmerizing, a cosmic siren song that called to the very soul of each person on board. "Remember," Captain Briggs addressed her crew, "this is more than exploration. We are the eyes and ears of humanity, stepping into a realm that has been a mystery since the dawn of time. Whatever we find there, we find for all of mankind." The crew nodded, their faces a tapestry of resolve and curiosity. They were no longer just explorers, they were pioneers on the frontier of human understanding, venturing into the abyss on behalf of those they had left behind. As the Odyssey approached the wormhole, the fabric of space seemed to warp and bend around them. Dr. Hayes stared in awe. "It's beautiful," he whispered. "And utterly terrifying." The spacecraft entered the wormhole, and for a moment, there was a sense of transcending reality. Time and space seemed to bend and twist, an experience that defied words. Then, with a burst of otherworldly light, they were through, plunging into an adventure beyond their wildest dreams, into the heart of the unknown. The Odyssey, now enveloped in the cosmic embrace of the wormhole, sailed through a corridor of the unimaginable. The laws of physics, as understood by the minds aboard, bent and twisted around them like a tapestry woven by an otherworldly artist. Outside the spacecraft's windows, a kaleidoscope of colors swirled and danced, creating patterns that seemed to speak directly to the soul. Inside, the crew stood transfixed, their eyes wide with a blend of terror and fascination. "It's like navigating through a dream," whispered Dr. Zhao, her voice barely audible over the hum of the ship's engines, which now seemed to sing a strange, harmonious tune in response to the wormhole's energies. Captain Briggs, ever the steadfast leader, kept her gaze fixed on the navigational displays, which flickered with readings that defied understanding. "Stay sharp," she cautioned, her voice steady yet tinged with awe. "We're not just explorers, we're voyagers in the truest sense now." Dr. Hayes, his face illuminated by the otherworldly light, scribbled furiously in his notebook, trying to capture the experience in words and sketches. "This is beyond science," he murmured. "It's poetry, a dance of cosmic forces." The walls of the Odyssey vibrated gently, resonating with the energy of the wormhole. Chief Engineer Katri, eyes fixed on the various dials and readouts, noted the ship's surprising harmony with its surroundings. "She's holding up," he said, a hint of pride in his voice. "It's as if she was meant to journey through this wonder." Lieutenant Zhang, peering out into the vortex, felt a sense of detachment from reality, as if they were no longer merely moving through space, but also through time and perhaps even dimensions. "I feel so small," she said, her voice a mix of humility and wonder. "And yet part of something unimaginably vast." As they journeyed deeper, the swirling colors outside began to form shapes and patterns, as though the wormhole itself was alive, a sentient being guiding them through its domain. The crew watched in silent reverence, understanding that they were witnessing a phenomenon that ancient astronomers and philosophers could have scarcely dreamed of. In this moment, they were more than astronauts, they were pilgrims in the cathedral of the cosmos, witnessing the raw beauty and power of the universe. The Odyssey continued its surreal passage through the wormhole, a lone vessel charting a course through the uncharted, its crew bound together by the shared experience of the sublime and the unknown. As they approached what seemed to be the end of the wormhole, a bright light began to emerge, growing in intensity. Captain Briggs steadied herself, preparing for what lay beyond. "Brace for emergence," she called out. "Let's see what secrets await us on the other side." With a final surge of light and energy, the Odyssey burst forth from the wormhole, emerging into a realm that was about to redefine their understanding of reality, a realm where the cosmic and the ancient intertwined. The journey through the wormhole's embrace had ended, but their adventure had only just begun. Emerging from the wormhole, the Odyssey found itself not in the comforting embrace of familiar stars, but adrift in an abyssal expanse, a realm where shadows whispered secrets of a time long forgotten. The crew peered out into the darkness, their faces bathed in the ghostly light of a realm that defied comprehension. The landscape below, visible through the spacecraft's windows, was strewn with ruins that spoke of a civilization both grand and terrifying in its scope. Captain Briggs, her usual composure tinged with an unspoken apprehension, navigated the Odyssey through this alien sky. "This place," she began, her voice a mere whisper, "it's as if we've stumbled upon the dreams of a god, long slumbering." Dr. Hayes, ever the scientist, was quick to attempt an explanation. "It's possible we've emerged in a parallel universe, or perhaps a distant part of our own," he theorized. "But these structures, they're like nothing on Earth. They're otherworldly." Lieutenant Zhang, her eyes fixed on the bizarre silhouettes of the alien architecture, shuddered. "They remind me of something," she said, her voice trembling. "Tales my grandmother used to tell, of ancient gods and forbidden knowledge." The sky, a tapestry of unfamiliar constellations, cast a pallid light over the spacecraft. Dr. Zhao, her gaze locked on the alien sky, murmured almost to herself, "There are stories, old as time, of places where the fabric of reality is thin, where ancient beings lie in wait." The crew's conversation was interrupted by Chief Engineer Katri's urgent voice. "There's something odd about the ship's readings," he announced, his brow furrowed in concern. "The instruments are behaving erratically, as if they're being influenced by something unseen." As they descended closer to the surface, the air inside the Odyssey grew heavy with a sense of foreboding. The ruins, now clearer, seemed to pulse with an unseen energy, their twisted forms casting long, dark shadows that seemed to stretch towards the spacecraft, as if reaching out from the depths of time. Captain Briggs made the decision to land near one of the larger structures, a towering edifice that loomed like a sentinel over the desolate landscape. "We need to explore," she declared. "There are answers here, I'm certain of it. But be on your guard, this place is not just ancient, it's alive, in a way I can't explain." As they prepared to disembark, the crew felt the weight of countless eons pressing upon them, a reminder that they were intruders in a realm that belonged to another age, an age when the earth was young and the stars sang different songs. With each step they took on the alien soil, they felt the gaze of unseen watchers, and the whisper of forgotten lore, hinting at truths too vast and too ancient for mortal minds to comprehend. The Odyssey crew stood at the threshold of discovery, poised to uncover secrets that had slumbered in the dark heart of the cosmos since time immemorial. What lay within these ruins was more than mere knowledge. It was a revelation of the cosmic order, a glimpse into the unfathomable depths of the universe's past. In the shadowed realm of this forgotten world, the Odyssey crew, clad in their suits of exploration, wandered amidst the ruins of a civilization that whispered of ancient, unknowable powers. The towering structures around them were adorned with cryptic symbols and bizarre statues, the likes of which defied the understanding of human minds. A fog-like mist clung to the ground, adding to the eerie atmosphere of this alien landscape. Captain Briggs led her team with a cautious determination, her eyes scanning the monolithic structures. "These ruins," she said, her voice echoing slightly within her helmet, "they're not just remnants of a dead civilization. They feel alive, as if they're watching us." Dr. Hayes, his gadget in hand, analyzed the symbols on the walls. "The geometry here is unnatural," he noted, his brow furrowed in concentration. "It's as if these shapes were meant to speak to something within us, something primal and deeply rooted in our psyche." Lieutenant Jean, who had ventured a bit further, called out to the others. "Over here," she exclaimed. "There's a statue, unlike any depiction of mythology I've ever seen." The crew gathered around the statue, which towered over them, an imposing figure of an entity that seemed to straddle the line between god and monster. Dr. Zhao, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and fascination, approached the statue. "It's like something out of a nightmare," she whispered. "A being from a time before time, when the earth was just a speck in the cosmos." The crew noticed that the ground beneath their feet was inscribed with a vast array of symbols, forming a pattern that led to the heart of the ruins. "It's a path," Chief Engineer Katri observed. "Or maybe a ritualistic alignment. It's leading us somewhere." As they followed the path, the air grew heavier, the mist thicker, and the sense of an unseen presence stronger. The crew felt as though they were being drawn into a story that had begun eons before humanity's rise, a story written in the stars and the stones of this ancient place. They came upon a clearing where the ruins formed a circle, at the center of which lay a sunken area, like an amphitheater made for celestial spectators. Captain Briggs stopped, her heart pounding with a mixture of dread and awe. This is a place of worship," she said, "a temple dedicated to something far beyond our understanding." The crew stood in silence, surrounded by the remnants of a civilization that had once gazed upon the same stars they did, yet saw them in a light so different as to be almost alien. It was a humbling reminder of their place in the cosmos, a speck of existence in the grand narrative of the universe. Dr. Hayes, his voice barely more than a whisper, summed up their collective feeling. "We are standing in the presence of something ancient and powerful, a force that has slumbered in the depths of space and time. We must tread carefully, for we are not just explorers of space, but of the very fabric of reality itself. In this realm of shadows, the crew of the Odyssey confronted truths that challenged the very boundaries of their understanding, facing a cosmic horror that lurked in the dark corners of the universe, waiting for the moment to reveal its ancient, unfathomable secrets. While the crew of the Odyssey delved deeper into the enigmatic ruins of an ancient realm, a different drama unfolded back on the space station Astralis. Security Officer Jane Hawthorne moved with silent purpose through the dimly lit corridors, her intuition and training guiding her in unraveling a sinister plot that threatened not just the station, but perhaps reality itself. The air in the station was thick with secrets, the walls echoing with the whispers of a scheme born from the pages of forbidden lore. Officer Hawthorne, her eyes sharp and her mind sharper, had noticed the odd behaviors and clandestine gatherings of certain crew members. Something was amiss, and her gut told her it was linked to the recent disturbances emanating from the wormhole. In the shadowed recesses of the station, she discovered a hidden room, its existence unbeknownst to the official schematics. Inside, the walls were adorned with cryptic symbols and diagrams that depicted the wormhole and an entity of immense power. Her heart raced as she realized the gravity of her discovery. These were not mere enthusiasts of ancient myths, but cultists, their beliefs rooted in cosmic horror and their intentions malevolent. The officer overheard hushed conversations, the words laced with madness and fervor. "The awakening is near," murmured one shadowed figure. "The alignment is almost upon us," whispered another. Hawthorne's blood ran cold as she pieced together their plan. These cultists sought to manipulate the wormhole, to hasten the return of an ancient, unspeakable entity, one that slumbered in the depths of space and time. Armed with this knowledge, Hawthorne knew she had to act. She gathered evidence, recording the chilling iconography and the fanatical words of the cultists. Her mission was clear: she had to stop them, to prevent whatever cosmic horror they sought to unleash upon the universe. As she made her way back to report her findings, Hawthorne felt the weight of responsibility upon her shoulders. She was now the sentinel standing against a tide of darkness, a lone figure in a struggle that spanned the chasm between the known and the unknown. Back on the Odyssey, the crew remained unaware of the machinations occurring on Astralis. Their fate, and that of countless others, now rested in the hands of Officer Hawthorne, who faced not just a physical threat, but a battle against the encroaching shadows of an ancient and terrifying lore. In the echoing halls of Astralis, the dance between light and dark played out, a dance that would determine the fate of worlds and the very fabric of reality. In the heart of the alien ruins, under a sky embroidered with unfamiliar constellations, the crew of the Odyssey delved deeper into the mysteries of a forgotten epoch. The remnants of an ancient civilization lay before them, their colossal structures and mysterious artifacts a testament to a society that had once harmonized the realms of science and the arcane. Captain Briggs and her team, their spacesuits casting ghostly reflections on the ancient stones, moved cautiously among the ruins. The air was thick with the echo of eons, the whispers of a civilization that had reached for the stars, only to fall into the abyss of time. Their technology, Dr. Hayes mused, examining a device that hummed with a faint, unearthly energy. "It's beyond anything we've ever imagined. It's as if they had unlocked the secrets of the cosmos itself." Lieutenant Zhang, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and fascination, approached a massive structure, its walls inscribed with symbols that seemed to dance and shift under her gaze. "Look at these inscriptions," she said, her voice trembling. "They speak of a great power, an entity that ruled over them, both a god and a monster." Dr. Zhao, her scanning device in hand, analyzed the ancient ruins. "There's a pattern here," she observed, "a convergence of lines and energy that suggests this place was not just a city, but a focal point, a gateway of sorts." The crew, surrounded by the relics of a bygone age, felt the weight of history pressing upon them. They were standing on sacred ground, a place where the line between the material and the ethereal had once been blurred. As they ventured further, they stumbled upon a vast chamber, its ceiling lost in shadow. In its center lay a monolith, its surface alive with eldritch carvings. Captain Briggs approached the monolith, her hand hovering over the carvings. "This is more than a mere stone," she said, her voice filled with awe. "It's a chronicle, a record of their rise and their fall." The crew gathered around the monolith, their lights casting long shadows on the ancient stone. The carvings told a tale of a civilization that had reached the pinnacle of knowledge, only to be consumed by a darkness they had awakened, a darkness born from the depths of the cosmos. "Their hubris," Dr. Hayes whispered, "it led to their doom. They sought to control powers beyond their understanding, powers that belonged to the realm of the gods." In the silence of the chamber, the crew of the Odyssey felt a presence, an unseen watcher that lingered in the shadows. The echoes of the deep reverberated around them, a reminder that some secrets were meant to remain hidden, locked away in the dark corners of the universe. As they left the chamber, the crew knew that their journey had taken a turn into the realms of the unknown, where science and myth intertwined, where the veil between worlds was thin. They were no longer just explorers, they were witnesses to the echoes of a cosmic drama that had played out eons before humanity had taken its first steps into the stars. In the depths of the Odyssey, the crew found themselves ensnared in a web of hallucinations, each more vivid and terrifying than the last. The spacecraft, once a haven of scientific pursuit, had transformed into a labyrinth of shadows and eerie echoes, reflecting the crew's growing unease. Captain Briggs, fighting to maintain her composure, paced the bridge. Her once clear and decisive commands were now tinged with a hint of desperation. "We need to maintain focus," she urged her crew, though her own voice sounded distant, as if echoing from a great chasm. Dr. Hayes, his eyes reflecting the torment of his thoughts, fixated on the alien landscape outside. "The ruins, they're alive," he whispered, his voice quivering. "They're speaking to us, through visions, through time itself." Lieutenant Zhang, her face pale and her hands trembling, clutched a console for support. "I saw them," she stammered, "the inhabitants of this place. They walked among these ruins, masters of a forbidden knowledge, a knowledge that we were never meant to understand." In the engine room, Chief Engineer Katri wrestled with the ship's systems, which seemed to have taken on a life of their own. Gauges spun wildly, screens flickered with incomprehensible data, and the hum of the engines resonated with an almost sentient quality. "It's as if the ship is trying to communicate with the ruins," he muttered, his rational mind struggling to make sense of the impossible. Dr. Zhao, her scientific curiosity battling her rising fear, attempted to document the phenomena. But her notes became a jumble of scientific observations and frantic musings. "There's a pattern here," she insisted, her voice edged with hysteria. "A cosmic pattern that defies our understanding of physics and reality." The crew's nightmares began to spill into their waking hours, the boundaries between sleep and consciousness blurred by the influence of the alien realm. Visions of cyclopean structures, non-Euclidean geometries, and the echoes of a long-dead yet somehow still present civilization haunted them. In the mess hall, the crew gathered, their faces etched with the toll of their ordeal. Their conversation was a cacophony of fear, wonder, and madness. They spoke of seeing ancient rituals, of hearing the laments of lost souls, and of feeling the gaze of something ancient and malevolent. Captain Briggs stood before them, her figure a lone bastion against the tide of madness. "We must not lose ourselves," she implored, her voice a rallying cry. "We are here for a purpose, to explore and to learn. We must not let the darkness of this place consume us." But as she spoke, the ship trembled, as if resonating with the power of the ancient ruins. The crew looked at each other, their eyes reflecting a shared realization. They were not merely explorers in this realm, but pawns in a cosmic game, the rules of which were written in the stars by beings beyond their comprehension. The Odyssey, and all who dwelled within, were now adrift in a sea of madness, where the very fabric of reality was woven with threads of terror and wonder. In this realm of eternal night, the mind's descent into the abyss was as inevitable as the pull of a black hole, drawing them ever closer to truths too terrifying to behold. Back on the space station Astralis, a clandestine ceremony unfolded in the bowels of its retrofuturistic structure. In a hidden chamber, far removed from the prying eyes of the unsuspecting crew, the cultists, robed in garments adorned with cryptic symbols, gathered around an artifact of otherworldly origin. The chamber, bathed in an eerie light that seemed to pulse with a life of its own, resonated with the energy of the wormhole visible through a large viewport. Security Officer Jane Hawthorne, hidden in the shadows, observed the ritual with a mix of horror and determination. The cultists, their voices rising in a chant of an unknown language, seemed to be communicating with the swirling vortex of the wormhole, their hands raised in fervent supplication. The artifact at the center of their circle, a relic that seemed to defy the laws of physics, emitted a pulsating light that synchronized with the rhythm of the wormhole. The air in the chamber crackled with power, the very fabric of reality seeming to warp and bend around the ritual. "The gate opens," intoned the leader of the cultists, his voice echoing off the walls of the chamber. "The path to the Ancient One is clear. We usher in the awakening of our Lord, the harbinger of a new era." Hawthorne, her heart pounding in her chest, realized the gravity of what she was witnessing. The cultists were not merely fanatics, they were conduits for a force that threatened to unravel the tapestry of the cosmos. Outside the chamber, the rest of the station remained oblivious to the peril. The crew went about their duties, unaware that the very foundations of their reality were being shaken by the actions of the cultists. As the ritual reached its climax, the artifact began to glow with an intensity that was almost blinding. The wormhole responded, its colors shifting, its patterns becoming more erratic. A sense of impending doom filled the chamber, as if something ancient and malevolent was stirring from a slumber that had lasted eons. Hawthorne knew she had to act. She stepped out of the shadows, her weapon drawn, her resolve as firm as the steel of the station's hull. "Stop this madness," she shouted, her voice ringing out in the chamber. The cultists turned towards her, their eyes glowing with a fanatic light. "It is too late, officer," sneered the leader. "The awakening has begun. The Ancient One stirs, and with his return, a new age will dawn." As the artifact pulsed with a final surge of energy, a shockwave rippled through the station, shaking its very foundations. The crew, jolted from their routine, looked around in confusion and fear. Back on the Odyssey, the crew felt the tremor, a distant echo of the events unfolding on the space station. Captain Briggs, her instincts alert to the danger, looked out at the wormhole, a sense of foreboding gripping her heart. In the hidden chamber, Hawthorne faced the cultists, her determination unwavering. She knew that the fate of not just the Astralis, but perhaps the entire universe, now hinged on her actions. The ritual chamber, once a place of sinister intent, had become a battleground where the forces of reason and madness clashed, a struggle that would determine the course of cosmic events. The awakening of the ancient entity, once a mere myth, was now a terrifying reality, its implications as vast and unfathomable as the wormhole itself. Amidst the chaotic maelstrom of the ancient realm, the crew of the Odyssey found themselves in a frenzied struggle against both the encroaching madness and the inexorable pull of the wormhole. The spacecraft's interior, once a sanctuary of scientific endeavor, had transformed into a tempest of urgency and fear, as the crew worked desperately to chart a course back through the swirling vortex that had brought them to this nightmarish domain. Captain Briggs, her face a mask of resolve amidst the growing panic, rallied her team. "We must focus," she implored, her voice cutting through the chaos. "Our minds are our own. We cannot let this place consume us." Dr. Hayes, his hands trembling as he adjusted the navigational instruments, spoke with a voice tinged with desperation. "The wormhole's patterns are changing, becoming more erratic. It's as if the awakening on the station is having a ripple effect here." Lieutenant Zhang, her eyes darting between the alien landscape outside and the readouts on her console, added, "The fabric of this realm is unraveling. We're running out of time." Chief Engineer Katri, his brow furrowed in concentration, worked feverishly to stabilize the Odyssey's engines. "The ship is reacting to the external forces," he shouted over the din. "I'm trying to compensate, but it's like navigating a storm in uncharted waters." Dr. Zhao, her face pale but her eyes burning with an unyielding determination, analyzed the data streaming across her screen. "There's a pattern in the chaos," she said. "A window in the wormhole's fluctuations. It's our only chance." The crew, united in their determination to survive, worked in unison, their actions a ballet of precision under pressure. Captain Briggs took the helm, her hands steady as she steered the Odyssey towards the shifting maw of the wormhole. Outside, the ruins of the ancient civilization seemed to loom closer, their dark presence a palpable force that sought to ensnare the spacecraft in its ancient grip. The crew could feel the gaze of the unseen entity, its awakening a malevolent force that threatened to tear their minds apart. As they approached the wormhole, the spacecraft shuddered, its hull groaning under the strain of the competing energies. The crew braced themselves, each lost in their thoughts, their fears, their hopes. Dr. Hayes, looking out at the swirling vortex, whispered, "We're on the edge of the abyss, staring into the eyes of the cosmos itself." The Odyssey plunged into the wormhole, the spacecraft trembling as if in the grip of a cosmic giant. The crew held their breath, their eyes fixed on the screens, their hearts pounding in unison. Time seemed to stretch and warp around them, the familiar laws of physics bending to the will of the wormhole. The crew experienced visions of other worlds, other realities, glimpses of the infinite possibilities that lay beyond the boundaries of their understanding. Captain Briggs, her voice a beacon in the darkness, declared, "Hold fast. We will make it through. We must." The Odyssey emerged from the other side of the wormhole, the familiar stars of their home galaxy a welcome sight. The crew, exhausted but alive, let out a collective sigh of relief. But their ordeal was far from over. The awakening of the ancient entity had set into motion events that transcended space and time. The crew of the Odyssey had escaped the clutches of the ancient realm, but the echoes of their journey would resonate in their minds forever, a haunting reminder of the fragile veil that separates sanity from madness in the vast, unfathomable expanse of the cosmos. In the dimly lit confines of the Odyssey, a revelation shattered the fragile sense of triumph that had buoyed the crew after their harrowing escape through the wormhole. Among them, a traitor had been masquerading as a trusted ally, their true allegiance not to the mission nor to their fellow crew, but to the sinister cultists and their cosmic designs. The crew, gathered in the central chamber, confronted the betrayer, Dr. Zhao. The young astrophysicist, who had once gazed upon the stars with wonder, now stood defiant, her eyes burning with an unsettling fervor. "How could you?" Captain Briggs demanded, her voice a mix of anger and disbelief. "You were one of us." Dr. Zhao's response was cold, her words laced with a chilling conviction. "You see it as betrayal, but I see it as enlightenment," she declared. "The Ancient One offers knowledge far beyond our understanding, a chance to be part of something greater than ourselves." Lieutenant Zhang, her expression one of shock and hurt, stepped forward. "You helped them," she accused, "you were part of the ritual that awakened that thing." Dr. Zhao nodded, unrepentant. "Yes, I was. And I would do it again. The awakening is inevitable. It is destiny." Chief Engineer Katri, his hands clenched in anger, moved towards her. "You put us all in danger, for what? For some deluded fantasy?" Dr. Zhao turned to the ship's controls, her fingers dancing over the buttons with a traitor's familiarity. "It's not fantasy," she retorted. "It's the future. And you cannot stop it." Captain Briggs stepped between Katri and Zhao, her authority as captain asserting itself. "This ends now," she commanded. "We need to get back to the station, to warn them, to stop whatever is happening." But Dr. Zhao was undeterred, her actions revealing her intent to sabotage the ship. "You won't make it back," she sneered. "The Ancient One's influence is growing. Soon, the whole galaxy will feel his power." Dr. Hayes, his voice a whisper of despair, looked out at the stars. "We ventured into the unknown, seeking knowledge. But some knowledge is too terrible to bear." The crew, realizing the gravity of the situation, acted swiftly. Captain Briggs, with the help of Katri and Zhang, subdued Zhao, preventing her from causing further damage. The betrayal had cut deep, a wound to their unity and trust. As they restrained the traitor, the Odyssey trembled, a reminder that the awakening entity's influence was not confined to the realm they had escaped. It was reaching out, its tendrils of power extending across space and time. "We must return to the station," Captain Briggs declared, her resolve steeling her against the uncertainty ahead. "We have to warn them, to prepare for what's coming." The crew, their sense of safety shattered, understood that their journey was far from over. They had escaped the ancient realm, but the cosmic horror they had witnessed was not bound by physical confines. It was a threat that transcended the stars, a dark tide rising against the shores of reality. In the Odyssey, now a vessel of both hope and despair, the crew set a course back to the space station, racing against the insanity that threatened to engulf the galaxy. The betrayal in the stars was but a harbinger of the greater darkness that loomed on the horizon, a darkness born from the depths of the cosmos, waiting to awaken fully and claim its dominion over the minds and souls of all. In the shadowed heart of the alien realm, amidst the monolithic ruins of Relia, the crew of the Odyssey prepared for their final confrontation. The ancient city, with its bizarre, non-Euclidean architecture and cryptic symbols, pulsed with an otherworldly energy, as if it were a living entity awaiting the impending clash. The air was thick with a palpable tension, a mix of fear, determination, and the weight of an impending doom. Captain Briggs, her eyes steely with resolve, led her crew through the labyrinthine streets of the city. The massive structures loomed over them, their twisted forms casting strange, elongated shadows that seemed to twist and writhe with a life of their own. There, pointed Lieutenant Zhang, her voice tense, as they came upon a clearing. In the center stood a group of robed cultists, gathered around a monolithic stone that seemed to be the heart of the ancient city. The cultists, their faces hidden beneath their hoods, turned to face the crew, their hands raised in a gesture of defiance. "We must stop them," said Captain Briggs, her voice resolute. "Whatever dark purpose they have, it ends here." The crew advanced, their weapons at the ready, their hearts pounding in their chests. The cultists began chanting in an eerie, guttural language, the sound echoing off the walls of the city, adding to the surreal and menacing atmosphere. Dr. Hayes, his eyes wide with a mix of fear and fascination, muttered, "The power they're tapping into. It's ancient, alien. It's beyond anything we've encountered." The standoff was broken by the sudden movement of the cultists, who lunged towards the crew, their chants rising to a fevered pitch. The crew responded, their training taking over, as they engaged in a desperate struggle against the fanatical devotees. The battle was chaotic and brutal, the air filled with the sounds of shouts, gunfire, and the eerie chanting of the cultists. The stone monolith at the center of the clearing pulsed with a sinister light, its surface alive with shifting, otherworldly patterns. As they fought, Captain Briggs couldn't shake the feeling that they were pawns in a much larger, cosmic game. The city itself seemed to be watching, its ancient stones a silent witness to the struggle between the forces of reason and madness. Dr. Zhao, now a prisoner aboard the Odyssey, watched the battle through the ship's monitors, her expression one of conflicted emotions. "You cannot stop what is coming," she whispered, her voice a mix of despair and belief. "The awakening is inevitable." The crew pushed forward, their determination unyielding in the face of the overwhelming odds. They knew that the fate of not just themselves, but perhaps the entire universe, hinged on the outcome of this battle. As the confrontation reached its climax, the ground beneath them began to tremble, the very fabric of Relia responding to the clash of wills. The city's structures groaned and shifted, as if they were part of a living, breathing organism. In the midst of the chaos, Captain Briggs found herself face to face with the leader of the cultists, a figure whose eyes burned with a fanatical light. "You cannot comprehend the power of the Ancient One," he hissed. "He will rise, and the stars themselves will tremble." With a cry of defiance, Briggs engaged the cultist leader, their struggle a microcosm of the larger battle between light and darkness, between the known and the unfathomable. The crew of the Odyssey, fighting amidst the ruins of Relia, stood as a beacon of hope against the encroaching shadow of an ancient horror, their courage a testament to the indomitable spirit of humanity in the face of the cosmic unknown. In this alien realm, where the boundaries of reality were blurred, they fought not just for survival, but for the very sanity of the universe, against forces as old and as vast as the cosmos itself. Within the metallic corridors of the space station Astralis, Security Officer Jane Hawthorne embarked on a lone crusade against the remnants of the cultist faction. The station, a maze of high-tech and retrofuturistic design, became the battleground for her gambit, a tactical dance of cat and mouse in the dimly lit passageways. Hawthorne, armed with her knowledge of the station's layout and a determination as unyielding as the steel walls around her, moved with a silent grace. Her eyes, sharp and focused, scanned the shadows for any sign of her adversaries. She knew that the cultists, though diminished in number, were still a formidable threat, their fanaticism undimmed by the unfolding chaos. In the control room, she deftly disabled the station's security systems, cutting off the cultists' access to the communications and surveillance networks. "This ends now," she muttered to herself, her voice a whisper in the vastness of the station. As she navigated the corridors, her movements were precise, her training evident in every step. She set traps, locked doors, and created diversions, using the station itself as a weapon against those who sought to use it for their dark purposes. The cultists, caught off guard by her tactics, found themselves outmaneuvered at every turn. Hawthorne, a shadow in the dim light, confronted them with a fierce resolve. Each encounter was brief but intense, her proficiency in combat a testament to her skill and training. One by one, she neutralized the cultists, her actions a blend of efficiency and necessity. But she knew that time was against her. The awakening of the ancient entity was a ticking clock, a countdown to a cosmic event that could unravel the very fabric of reality. In a particularly tense encounter, Hawthorne faced off against the cultist's second-in-command in the station's observatory. The backdrop of the infinite cosmos, visible through the large windows, served as a stark reminder of the stakes at play. "You don't understand what you're doing," the cultist hissed, his eyes alight with fervor. "We are on the brink of a new age, an age of enlightenment and power." Hawthorne, her weapon trained on the cultist, replied with a cold resolve. "What you call enlightenment, I call madness. You're playing with forces beyond your comprehension." The confrontation ended swiftly, Hawthorne's resolve proving stronger than the cultist's fanaticism. With the second-in-command subdued, she secured the observatory, cutting off one of the last bastions of the cultists on the station. Her actions, though a significant blow to the cultists, were not the end of the struggle. The awakening entity's influence continued to grow, its cosmic power a looming threat that overshadowed her victories. As Hawthorne continued her mission, moving through the station with a single-minded purpose, she knew that the true battle was still ahead. The awakening entity, a horror from the depths of space and time, was a force that threatened not just the Astralis, but the entire universe. In the cold, mechanical heart of the space station, Hawthorne prepared for the final confrontation, her actions a desperate gambit to prevent a cosmic catastrophe. The fate of countless worlds hung in the balance, the outcome resting on the shoulders of one determined officer, standing alone against the darkness that threatened to engulf the stars. In the cold void of space, a spectacle of cosmic horror unfolded before the eyes of the crew aboard the space station Astralis. From the swirling vortex of the wormhole, an entity of such magnitude and terror emerged, its very presence defying the laws of nature and reason. This ancient cosmic entity, a being of tentacles and an incomprehensible form, loomed over the station, casting a shadow that seemed to swallow the light of nearby stars. Security Officer Jane Hawthorne, along with the crew, stood frozen in horror and disbelief as they witnessed the awakening of the entity. Its massive form, a maelstrom of writhing appendages and indescribable features, twisted and turned in the vacuum of space, warping the very fabric of reality around it. "The Ancient One," Hawthorne whispered, her voice barely audible over the sound of the station's alarms blaring. "It's real, all of it." The crew members, faces pressed against the windows of the control room, watched in a mix of fear and awe. The entity's gaze, a maelstrom of madness and ancient wisdom, seemed to penetrate the very soul of each observer, a silent testament to the insignificance of humanity in the vast cosmos. Dr. Hayes, his scientific mind grappling with the impossible reality before him, muttered, "We've opened a door we can't close. This is beyond comprehension." The entity's presence caused the station systems to flicker and fail, its cosmic influence disrupting the delicate machinery of human technology. Hawthorne, her training kicking in, rallied the crew. "We need to send a warning to Earth," she said, her voice firm despite the terror gripping her heart. "They must be prepared for what's coming." As they worked to restore communications, the entity continued its slow, inexorable advance, its tentacles reaching out as if to grasp the station. The space around it seemed to distort and bend, creating a spectacle of otherworldly horror. Outside, the void of space was filled with a cacophony of cosmic noise, an eerie symphony that heralded the arrival of the Ancient One. The stars themselves appeared to flicker and dim, as if cowering in the presence of such an ancient and terrifying force. Back on the Odyssey, Captain Briggs and her crew, having returned from the ruins of Relia, watched in stunned silence as the entity emerged. "What have we done?" Briggs whispered, the weight of their actions crashing down upon her. The station, a bastion of human achievement, now seemed like a fragile toy in the presence of the cosmic entity. The crew of the Astralis, realizing the futility of their resistance, could only watch as the Ancient One began to exert its will, a force so powerful and ancient that it threatened to unravel the fabric of the universe itself. In this moment of terror and awe, the crew understood the true scale of the cosmos, a realm where ancient gods and unspeakable horrors dwelled, where the mysteries of the universe were far beyond the grasp of mortal minds. The awakening of the entity was not just a moment of horror, but a revelation of the cosmic order, a glimpse into the unfathomable depths of space and time, where humanity's existence was but a fleeting whisper in the eternal chorus of the cosmos.